Hello there, guys. Recently, ARTEZA very kindly sent me a box of all of these art supplies. And so today we are just going to be taking a look at all of the supplies they sent and then playing around with them and seeing how they work and seeing how we like them and all of that good stuff. So the first thing we've got here are these 102 fine liner pens. Now, the first thing I notice about a lot of the ARTEZA art supplies is the selection of color. I mean, this is insane. For any color lover out there like me, this is like pure therapy just to stare at the plethora of different colors. And so I am excited to try these out. They're 0.4 nibs, so they're pretty thin, and I think they should be good for sketchbooking. The next grouping of supplies that we're gonna play with are right here. We've got this divine glitter. Can never go wrong with some glitter. And we have these intriguing liquid chalk markers. So I've never used anything like this before. And we've got a bright set and a metallic set. And I feel like they'll be really perfect for just like a little doodle session on these black sketch pads. So I got 2 of these 11 by 14 spiral bound black sketch pads. So let's see what happens with this. The pièce de résistance of the box is this set of 60 watercolors. When I pulled this set out, I was so excited. I mean, you just can't go wrong with this many watercolors. There are all of the colors of the rainbow in here and more. It's really reasonably priced. All of ARTEZA stuff is really reasonably priced. So it's really good starter stuff. And so I'm really excited to see how all of these colors perform and how they paint. And finally, we have 2 cold press linen bound watercolor sketchbooks. These are really beautiful. They're a really good size. They're larger than most of the watercolor sketchbooks I have encountered before. So they're 8.3 by 11.7 inches. And as most of you know, I usually don't keep a sketchbook. And so I'm really excited to get these and maybe start more of a sketchbooking practice. There were just so many colors to choose from. What I decided to do was take this white large ceramic plate and just kind of fill it with a plethora of different colors. It is worth noting that in this sketchbook, on one of the sides, it is cold pressed, and then the other side is smooth. So the cold press is the side that you're meant to paint on, because it is the side that will absorb the paint, and then you're just meant to leave the other side blank. So our subject du jour, given that I am here in Austin and I want to show a little Austin pride, we are going to be sketchbooking some cacti. This also gives me a nice opportunity to do something a little bit mindless. It's kind of like second nature painting cacti for me, and also to experiment with sort of in one color all of the different options. And so we're really going to be kind of playing a lot with greens and some of the blue hues today. So right off the bat, what I notice is the pastel colors paint somewhere in between a watercolor and a gouache. What I'm really curious about here, especially sort of with my technique, which includes a lot of gradation, is how are these colors going to blend and flow into one another. So you can kind of see how this starts to work on the arms of the first cactus, and then with this second prickly pear, you can really see that with these watercolors, the blending is not as seamless as some of the other watercolors, but funnily enough, I actually like that. I actually think that like it works with my style really well, and it is really visually pleasing for me. So I'm into it. I am basically obsessed with this tan color. I'm really into pastels right now. So this whole color palette is really working for me. You can definitely recreate a lot of the colors in this 60 watercolor palette just by adding white. So a lot of the colors are just, simply with like a different pigment added, and then it creates another color. But I actually like the color options. Like I would prefer to have a unique color option with the white already added. And I guess that's just because I'm lazy. So in the arms of this cactus, you can really see how if you load a lot of paint onto the paintbrush, it almost looks like gouache rather than watercolor. So you can kind of get both effects. You can add a good amount of water and you will get a watercolor effect, or you can keep it pretty opaque and you can get a gouache-like effect with these watercolors. And again, I just want to keep playing around with the blending to sort of get used to them. All paints, sort of act different, and they paint really differently. And so just spending some good playtime with any new paints is always really important. And I feel like any relationship, you get to know your art supplies more and more over time. And so I'm finding it really fun to just kind of paint with these. They genuinely don't act like any of the watercolors I currently own, and I really like that. And then in terms of the sketchbook itself, I am liking the texture a lot. I will say that it's probably best for single or double layer. I wouldn't want to layer up on this sketchbook that much. And also the paints, plus the sketchbook, they don't allow for that much pickup of the paint. So kind of once you have the paint down, it's down. You can't really reactivate it as you can with some other watercolors and watercolor paper. So that's just something to keep in mind. But for a sketchbook, again, that doesn't bother me at all. And I selected a handful of sort of complementary fine liners to add some little phrases and details to these cacti, and also to see how they acted in the sketchbook. So the first thing I notice about the fine liners is that there is some bleeding in this particular sketchbook, which makes sense because there is a textured hand on the paper. And that doesn't bother me because it is a sketchbook, but if it was a final piece, I would be a bit more bothered. I wouldn't really want to do any final work with the sort of feathery lines, but for a sketchbook piece, it is perfectly fine. And I'm impressed by the colors of the fine liners. Some of them are a lot more saturated, and some of them are lighter. So I definitely recommend doing a little test of the fine liners before you dive into anything. But I do think that they add a fun little element of detail to this little cactus sketchbook piece. And now it is time to move on to our marker session. So we're sticking with the same theme here, again, just so I can like straight up doodle and be mindless and not think too much about composition or what I'm drawing or anything like that, and mistakes, and just kind of be free and have fun with it. So we're doing some little ghost cacti here on this dark paper. So with these markers, to activate them, you just press down a few times on the nib and they'll come right out, and the flow is really good. I mean, I ended up doing a double line on most of these, but even as you can see with the single line, they're really vibrant and they're really cool, and the color selection is great. Like, I love this tan color on the black, and I had a lot of fun with this piece. I actually realized that I don't think I doodle enough, and this kind of got me back into it. So for the little speech bubbles, I did use the metallic, and it is beautiful and metallic, but unfortunately, just because of this video, you can't really see. You can see that it's pretty vibrant, but on the actual paper, it looks really cool. I will say that when I received the black paper and these markers, I thought, like, what am I gonna do with this? Because it's not really in my particular style or my techniques that I mostly use these days. But I had so much fun. And so I think this just shows me, get out of your comfort zone sometimes. You know, like, try new stuff. You never really know what happens. And then we're just gonna put some glitter on it, because why not? Can really never go wrong with a little glitter or a lot of glitter. And I don't stick this down or anything. I usually just use glitter to make my photos more pretty. A little glitter on like a video or an Instagram photo can go a long way. And voila, there we have our ARTEZA sessions. And so they very kindly gave me this coupon code for you guys to use. And I will say that I was really pleasantly surprised by all of these art supplies. I did not know what to expect. These are very cost effective. It is a very good beginner watercolor set to have, but also just a supplemental set. Like if you want to kind of have something that's a little bit between watercoloring, gouache to play around with. And I think probably my favorite are these watercolor sketchbooks. I actually am really inspired to sketch again. And so thank you, ARTEZA, and thank you guys for watching. And I will talk to you again soon. TTFN.